My name is Dan Young, and welcome to the Millionaire Code podcast. I'm a self-made guy that has made multi-million-dollar businesses from scratch. There's no way I could have done it without the help of mentors who provided me with the wisdom and guidance to help me create the formula for success. Each week on my podcast, I'm going to interview a hugely successful business person that will provide you their secrets to success, and that way can act as your mentor too. I can't wait to share their stories and takeaways with you. Welcome to Dan's Millionaire Code. Hi, everybody. Dan here with Dan's Millionaire Code, and welcome to today's podcast. As you know, every single week, I try to bring in some phenomenal entrepreneurial Jedi who's changing the world in a phenomenal way. And this week's guest is incredible. I'll give you a quick intro on him as well. But remember, there's no fee. There's no package you need to buy. There's no weird thing that you need to subscribe to or anything here and pay every month or anything like that. All the guests are here to share what's in their head, to give it to you as your mentor so that you can be successful too. So I just ask that you do a few things. One, if you enjoy this podcast, please hit like, share, rate it a 5-star, but share it with your friends and your family and people that could benefit from it. Number 2, execute like crazy. If you just watch this and you don't do anything, it's a waste of everyone's time. So please execute, like take one action, write it down, pause it, take action on that towards your goals. And 3, this is actually probably one of the most important things to me, more important than other things too, is take 10% of your net gain from the knowledge you've maintained here and have assimilated and execute that and give 10% of your gain to a good charity. Who do I like? I like Operation Underground Railroad to save all the kids that are suffering and being kidnapped and trafficked. That's a huge cause of ours. Support Tim Ballard over there. And the second one is Nuzzles & Co. It's a rescue, no-kill shelter here in Utah, Nuzzles & Co. Donate to them, help them. They'll save the dogs and cats from being killed because cats and kids and dogs cannot help themselves, so it's up to you and us to help. Okay, we'll get into it. Today's guest is my unstoppable entrepreneur, super Jedi friend, Clark Stacey. He's CEO of WildWorks Inc, and he's been doing this video game development for over 25 years. And I'll mention some of the games he made. I won't go in too deep because he can tell you more. But he has right now connecting over 120 million players.
In Animal Jam, that's right.
Just Animal Jam, which is crazy. I've been playing Animal Jam myself lately. And it's got games in the game. So download Animal Jam right now in the App Store because it's really cool. So Animal Jam's his big game. And I'll let him talk about some of those other things that he's done. He started WildWorks in 2003, and he wanted to bring production quality AAA games to kids' digital entertainment. He also co-founded in 2015 Utah Digital Entertainment Network. It's a nonprofit trade organization connecting digital media entrepreneurs to the resources they need, and also providing mentoring and promoting Utah as an international hub for digital entertainment development.
This must sound familiar to you.
Yeah, this is great. This is awesome.
It's like your mission statement.
It is. So Clark, man, thanks for coming. I know you're busy and you got all these new projects that you're releasing and then, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. My path into the video game industry was maybe a little atypical. I grew up in Utah, moved back here to finish my education at the University of Utah. Had an opportunity to teach there in the classics department with a professor who was working on some books that I contributed to and ancient civilizations. And really, I loved that. That's kind of what I thought my path was in academia. But throughout my undergraduate work, I was working in a bar. I started working as a bouncer in a club downtown when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
And, started working there with a fake ID, but don't do that. I don't know if you can do that anymore. This is a long time ago. But the owner of that bar was an entrepreneur himself who had always dreamed about making video games. He was a brilliant self-taught programmer. Another Utah entrepreneur who's a super powerhouse and has a pretty exciting game company of his own that he's spinning up now. But I joined him in what he was doing. First games that we put out were on the Atari Lynx handheld system, which
Nice.
probably dates me. But we went from there to, you'll love this. So this was a place called the Bar and Grill. It was downtown on 800 South, and we wanted to make a fighting game. Right? So Mortal Kombat was big, Street Fighter was big, and we thought, wow, what we'll do is we'll make a fighting game where there are live human actors, but then there are also computer-generated CG animated actors, and there'll be stop-motion animated actors.
No way.
So stop-motion animated maquettes, and we'll put them all together in this fighting game and be like, nobody's ever done this. And we'll do it on the Atari Jaguar. And we did, and we blue-screened all of the human actors, myself included, in the bar during the day.
So you're in the game.
I play a character. I play the character in the game. I know, and sometimes I'll break the Jaguar out, and my kids will play as me, and it's But yeah, so they talk about kind of doing this, spitballing it in your garage. We were trying to, having never done it before, we were trying to build a blue screen and shoot composited video, on a bar stage.
That's cool.
Before we had to open up the taps for the day. It was a lot of fun. But from that beginning, he and I later went on to co-found what was then Smart Bomb Interactive. Now we call it WildWorks, and we had been working at that point on kind of AAA high production value action games. Did Motor Mayhem, did Redline, did some big PC and console action games. Did one called Hot Wheels, Velocity.
Can you still download these?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, I've seen emulators that are still running.
I want to play the Clark game.
It's called Ultra Vortec.
Ultra Vortec.
Yeah, I'll bring a Jaguar in sometime. You can check it out. Yeah, and it's starring myself, other bouncers at this club, and bouncers from other clubs that we knew. It was funny.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So we, having made a lot of these, more adult-oriented action combat games, we saw a market opportunity in the games that were being released for kids because 2003, you think back then, most games were sold at Target and Walmart, right? And most of them were sold right around Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's when the big surge was. So if you were a developer, your goal was to get something in a box that could be sold in Target and Walmart in time for Christmas. And the quality did not matter as much as the name that was on it. So for kids games especially, they got the short end of the stick. They got just 6-month production crap games.
But the box looked good.
But the box looked good, and it was the latest animated kids movie or show or something that came out. So they were all licensed like that. And we thought, well, if we took the production values, the technology, the quality level that we've established in these AAA games and brought it to kids, we would be overnight, the 800-pound gorilla of kids. We could own this demographic. So that's what we started doing. We started, as a lot of developers do, doing work for hire projects for companies like Namco Bandai and Activision, and working with some of their IPs. We did one with Pac-Man. We did one with Snoopy, and those were fun. But really, the dream is always build up enough of a war chest that you can kind of get off of this publisher developer wheel of karma and do your own stuff, create your own intellectual property that you own, you control creatively. And that's what we did with Animal Jam.
So Animal Jam, I've been playing it. There are games in the game, mm-hmm. and really, when you just start exploring at first, you go, okay, this is going to be pretty simple. And it's simple to play and use, but it's like a universe.
There's a lot in there.
It's pretty deep, man.
Yeah.
It loads different sections.
Yeah,
because it's so immersive,
and that's a design challenge in itself for a new player coming in, because our players are 8 to 12 is kind of our core demographic. But for an 8-year-old to come into this world and wow, there's so much you could do. How do you guide them through that experience so they're not overwhelmed? They find the kind of fun stuff that's going to appeal to them, and they make friends in the game. And how do you when the game first launched 10 years ago, it was a smaller world, not as many characters, not as many features. But now, there's you can go in there and support conservation organizations. You can learn about animals. You can interact with real scientists working in the field and ask them questions about their fields and the animals that they work with.
It's pretty cool because when you go to different sections in the game, it's almost, at the zoo, they have a little plaque, right?
Yeah.
So it tells you it gives you the actual scientific information. So it's educational. It's not just,
right.
You've gamified the education too.
Yeah, we
cool.
Our company motto is entertainment with substance. So, we work for the kids, right? A lot of teachers, educators come to us and say, well, can you quantify what kids are learning in Animal Jam? So, then we can show our administrators that this is aligned with STEM education goals and that it meets Common Core, and that we're like, no, we don't work for you. We work for the kids, right? But
that's awesome.
But at the same time, we want there to be substance beneath that. So when you're working for the kids, you're going, kids, come play this fun game. You're not doing what we call the Captain Toothpaste effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is when adults create some lame animated character like Captain Toothpaste. It's going to teach kids how to brush, and kids look at that and they give Captain Toothpaste the finger. They see right through it, right? It's lame, and we don't want to do that. We want to work for the kids.
Wow. So you've got now over 120 million users?
120 million registered users across
insane, man.
6 languages. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's crazy. In your team, you have a pretty large-sized team that's constantly making new worlds and things. And
yeah. For us, the challenge is not just making the games, but we make games in which kids can make friends and interact with each other, which, that means that we have all of the problems of a real world playground, but multiplied by 100 million, right?
Yeah.
So, if a parent is watching their child play Animal Jam and another player is in there and that player says something to them that makes the parent think, oh, this is creepy or this isn't right, then, the parent can't see that that's another kid. The parent immediately is going to think, oh, this is another adult, or this is something that I've got to be worried about. So, a lot of effort for us goes into moderation, having live, professionally trained moderators in the game to make sure that there aren't problems like that. Very sophisticated chat filter heuristics, not just preventing kids from saying naughty words, but preventing them from giving out their phone numbers, or giving out their addresses, or even
it's pretty in depth on the protection level.
Yeah,
and it's seamless though. You don't see it like that technically, but it's really powerful because I was browsing around there just to see what's my kid's experience with this, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with what we've built there, and it's a great community that kids have built around it. We see what these kids are doing with Animal Jam on YouTube and on social media, on Instagram. There's some art creation features in the game, and we see these amazing, it's called the Masterpieces game, where you can paint, you can submit your painting, we approve it, make sure that it's not Hitler or something, and then if it's approved, you can give it to your friend in the game. You can hang it up in your den in the game. You can show it off. So there's this whole gray market of art going on among kids in the game where they really want, they want popular players. They want to get some of their paintings and things and show them off. And then we see this stuff, getting posted on Instagram or DeviantArt, and it's just mind blowing, the talent that's out there.
So your retention is pretty sticky though, right? When these kids start playing this, they're in it for a long time, right? I mean, 10 years to keep it fresh. Usually, a lot of games are like, cool. Who cares?
Yeah. And you're seeing a few games out there now that, even games that were contemporary with us, like RuneScape. That's a desktop kind of RPG game that it's, I don't know, 12 years old or something. Looks pretty dated. The classic version. They spent a lot of money creating a really cool new version, mobile version, but people are still playing the classic version. They're having some of their highest revenue years ever, just from players that remember this fondly, bringing a new generation of players into it. And that's kind of when we built Animal Jam, we wanted to build the next Sesame Street. We wanted to build something that 70 years from now, I don't know how kids will be interacting with Animal Jam. It'll probably be something they plug in behind their ears and experience, live in their brains. but they'll be interacting with something that is Animal Jam or descended from Animal Jam, and they'll be hopefully learning from it and getting some of the core values of Animal Jam around, conservation and wild wilderness protection. And
That's pretty cool. Be able to get those messages through the game and have kids receptive to that.
Yeah, I think so. We hope so.
So here's the bit. I'm going to shift gears. So with all this time you've put into this, scaling your company and inventing new things to put in these different games, what's the biggest challenge, the scariest thing that you've experienced in your career here?
Wow. We aren't anything without our people, without the talent of the people that make the games. I'm often the one that's out talking about Animal Jam or our new games or whatever else we're working on, but it's the artists, the designers, the programmers that work for WildWorks that make that happen.
You have cool people. I toured it, and
you saw
people
our
are way into it.
And they're a devoted bunch of people, and so keeping that talent pool fresh, and that's not just the talent pool that's in WildWorks itself, because to support that talent pool, you have to have an ecosystem outside of it, right? If I want to bring in a super hot game programmer from San Francisco who, he's worked in Silicon Valley and he's realized that he's never going to be able to afford a house, and so I want to talk him into moving to Salt Lake City to raise a family and work for our game company. One of the first things he's going to be looking at is, okay, well, if in case that goes south, what's around there? Are there other businesses I could go work for? Are there other game studios I could go work for? There has to be that supporting ecosystem around there for the talent pool in our company to be healthy. And that's, the Utah Digital Entertainment Network thing that you mentioned. That's something that we've been trying to build a network of mentors and of healthy entrepreneurial studios here. Not so that we're always poaching each other's talent, but so that we make this area super attractive for high-end game development and more investment coming into it here.
We felt the same thing in hardware with PCL and Zydex as well. A lot of our team members are from California, Texas, and New York, and they're all coming to Utah, not only because the tech environment, but the family lifestyle that people can have, the quality of life, the cost of living. It's pretty great here, right?
It is. There's not. Name all the cities in the country where 30 minutes from downtown you can be in wilderness and having an amazing experience in the mountains. There's not many places like that.
It's cool, and good restaurants too in Utah. Now we have good food.
We got good food. We got good good club scene. We got it all.
That's great. So this is so cool. What is the number one reason, your advice for the viewers out there, what's the number one reason why people fail, let's say, in your industry? A lot of people want to get into, software development and things like that. Like, why do people fail? It's the big one.
Most companies fail before they really get off the ground. And what I talk about when I talk to students or aspiring entrepreneurs is, most of them think, well, I can't start a company because I don't have the funding. I need to go get angel funding. I need to go, raise a seed round or something like that. Think about the team before you think about the funding. What you really need to do is you need to put together the core pack of absolute rock stars that is going to be the creative and energetic core of this company. You need an engineering lead that is just is a stupendous badass and loves what they're doing. You need art and design leads that are the same way. You need animators that are the same way. You put together that core and you develop that creative synergy among them, then funding will come. Because my experience anyway, VCs, other investors, they invest in people. They invest in the people building the company, right? Somebody comes to them with an idea for, I don't know, the whole Theranos thing. We're going to put a machine that does all your blood tests for you. Well, okay, that's a great idea, but any crack-addled weirdo at a bus stop could come up with the idea, right? You invest in the people. You invest. Do I think that this person not only has the capability and the intellectual horsepower to get this done, but the energy to see it through? that's what I think most investors are looking for. And you alluded to this in kind of your opening there, is if small steps add up to big steps, and the idea of going from zero to successful startup looks incredibly daunting because I don't know everything that I have to do between here and there. And what about, all the legal stuff? And what about the HR stuff? And what about, all these things? It becomes paralyzing. But really what it is it's made up of a bunch of small individual little steps. And if you get just one of those done a day, you're making progress. Some days you're going to get 10 of them done. It's going to be awesome. Some days you're just going to make progress towards one. But it's just taking those incremental steps and not stopping until you get to the top. And you're probably not going to realize that you got to where your goal was until it's already passed, because you're going to be so busy and engaged with what the steps are up here. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's in my experience what it's looked like.
So what's the first step some of the listeners could do if they have a skill in art or programming or creating video games, or just a big passion to want to do that? What's the first step they need to do? Like, what would you give them as a mentor advice to, okay, I want to start making video games. Like,
sure.
Where do I go?
When I started doing this, there weren't all of the fantastic tools that are out there right now. So if you want to start making video games, you can download the Unity 3D engine. You can start making video games, and it doesn't cost you anything. You can with online resources available there. You can even if you're not a programmer, you can teach yourself to use that.
Where do you go? What's the website?
Unity3D.com is a great one. If you're younger and you want to get some experience with a game engine that will allow you to start in this stuff, MIT's Scratch program is a fantastic resource, totally free. I think it's scratch.mit.edu, or don't quote me on that, but if you Google MIT and Scratch, you'll come up with it. So Scratch is they've got a set of web-based tools, but it is a kind of a tutorial game engine that will take you
through. It teaches you.
Yeah, it teaches
you. That's why they call it Scratch, right?
Yeah. And it's actually a very powerful tool in and of itself. You could make a full-featured game just in Scratch, just by going through those tutorials. And as a first step, even if you're not going to wind up being the main programmer on your games or the main artist on your games, if you understand the work that those people are going to be doing, you're going to be a much better manager of them. Right?
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So those two things, so Unity
really
3D and MIT Scratch.
Yeah.
If they start, that's a good starting point.
Those are excellent starting points, yeah.
Excellent. Shifting gears again, trying to contain my ADD. So what public figures or people out there have been your heroes through the years, when you're younger, like before you got going? Did you have some, like, I admire this person?
Coming up as I did in academia, most of my heroes were writers that ultimately turned out to be drunks, and
drunk writers.
Probably fantastic creative output, but not what you would call necessarily successful lives. But a lot of the entrepreneurs that have preceded me in games. Double Fine, which is a studio that I think has done some really, really creative work over the years. I meet people in this, it's a small industry. I meet people all the time that I just am in awe of their design prowess in different areas. I think Tim Sweeney in tech at Epic he's been the architect of some fantastic game technology.
These are good people for some of these kids to follow.
Oh yeah, and learn more about their careers and what they've done. John Carmack, same way at id Software, now working in the AR and VR space. These are people at least that are well known within the games industry. People
you met some of these guys?
I've met some of these guys. Yeah,
cool. Some mentor you.
Yeah, well, I don't know about
virtually.
That, Jade Raymond, she's a tremendous team leader. Creator of Assassin's Creed and several other big name franchises. Yeah, every studio or product set that she's touched has done something really cool. Now she's working with Google Stadia, which is a very exciting new game technology.
Yeah, the streaming, online streaming, right?
Yeah.
Real time.
Yeah.
So what's your binge, man? So for video games, like, do you still play?
I still play.
Yeah. What's it? What are you playing, man?
You know, I wind up playing a lot of stuff for 5 to 10 minutes, but and it's not as often that I get to just really junk out on something on console. Far Cry 5 and
that's good, huh?
And Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is probably the last game that not only did I play all the way through it, but I played all the DLC. I played all of everything. It was just really well balanced and beautiful. On mobile, I'm a particular fan of turn-based strategy games. Kind of in the Disgaea series is probably my favorite. It's a Japanese turn-based strategy.
What's it called?
Disgaea, D-I-S-G-O.
Good game though.
Yeah, no, great series. It's one of those that if you played them all the way through, they've gotten super complicated now, so it's a little hard to jump in at the top of the series. Start earlier. But the game that got me into game design more than anything else was a PC game. And you ask game designers, I'll bet a lot of them that are my age will say this, was XCOM UFO Defense. Came out in the late 80s, early 90s. I should know.
That's crazy, man.
PC.
Because I just played I would play that game before, but the XCOM 2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They had all this new DLC that I didn't even know they came out with in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I actually probably spent 25 hours playing that.
That's awesome. It's a great turn-based strategy. But when that game came out, it was a revelation for me in how storytelling could happen in games, but also just kind of an open world approach to balancing a game where you gave the player a lot of agency to figure out how to solve problems rather than just creating a puzzle that has one solution, which is how most linear games still are, is you create an environment that poses a problem and has a lot of possible solutions and they can approach it different ways. Just really well balanced game and still probably a ton of fun to play.
That's cool. So you play that once in a while again to relive it?
I don't know if I still have the hardware to run it, but I'm sure that there's emulators out there. I probably should break it out again.
I noticed on Steam, though, now you can download a lot of these really old games.
That's true.
And they work pretty good with all the proper patches to make it work. Right?
Yeah.
I've been playing, talking about
yeah, let me hear it.
XCOM 2 again, right? Got back into that. The Hitman series of games.
Which,
Hitman
on
2.
Mobile or on console? Or?
Desktop, PC, Hitman 2. That's not an easy game to play.
No.
It's pretty in-depth. And I like how, because the storyline is really pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites of all time, it's getting old now, but it's GTA 5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's like a whole universe within a universe within a universe.
So are you one of those guys that's spent 10, 15 grand decking out your chair, your shifter, your controls and everything for GTA? Because my brother-in-law's done that.
We got a couple guys here.
He's built the whole racing sim around GTA in his living room.
That game's great, huh?
Yeah.
It's amazing where gaming's going to go. Where do you think gaming is going to go? I mean, let's fast forward 5 years, 10 years. You're talking about maybe the little jack, maybe Elon Musk makes a little neural interface.
I think starting a few years ago, everybody was talking about VR and how this was going to revolutionize the industry. And I didn't buy it as a premise then because of the hardware and the products and everything that they were talking about. And I think a lot of people invested a lot of money in VR and lost a lot of money in VR because it wasn't there yet. We had not yet released the Wii of VR, the Nintendo Wii, which was a console that millions of families bought that weren't gamers, simply because it came with one game, Wii Sports, that showed off its one really novel innovation, which was this motion controller. And anybody could get into it. You didn't have to be a gamer. It wasn't intimidating with lots of buttons to learn and everything. Your mom could do it, right? We haven't had that for VR until a few months ago when the Oculus Quest was released.
Oh yes.
Which is,
do you like it?
It's a game changer.
Wow.
It really is.
I haven't played with it. How are the graphics in that?
It's not as good as the highest end HTC Vive or even Oculus stuff. The screens aren't as high resolution, but the fact that you are untethered to anything, it's all of the renderings being done in the headset, and it's comfortable enough for kids and adults to wear. The fact that you can do it in your living room and not have all these wires going to a $5,000 computer to make it work. It's almost there. It has Beat Saber's definitely its Wii Sports. Mm-hmm. They should bundle it with it and reduce the price about $150, and they would have the Wii of VR. So it's close, and now I would say that's going to be an exciting area to develop in.
So Animal Jam VR?
It'll happen. I'm not saying when, but when you start to see the technology that's ready for mainstream adoption like that, and you know that's where the puck is going to some extent. You've got to start planning for it.
So you're not a noob to the industry now. So now you're one of these people that all these people look up to with what you've done.
I don't know. Maybe in the kids game space. Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, let's say 10 years from now, man? Like, what are you doing?
I think working in children's media still and looking for ways to improve the interface between kids and education and games. That's something I'm always going to be fascinated with and interested in doing. I think right now, part of what we hope to do with Animal Jam is give kids an introduction to social media that ultimately makes them better and more compassionate digital citizens, right? Mm-hmm. So you go into something like Animal Jam, which is a walled garden, and you can't be abusive to each other, and it's very bad actors are pretty quickly pushed out. It gives kids an opportunity to kind of experiment with their online identity in a consequence-free environment. And mm-hmm. I think that's a big part of the attraction to them.
Safe sandbox, right?
Yeah, safe sandbox where you can kind of practice that. So new game that we're releasing early next year called Feral is for kids that have kind of aged out of Animal Jam, right? They're Animal Jam, the walled garden, they want the walls to be a little bit lower. They want to be able to share their Instagram links or their YouTube links. They want to be able to, link with their social accounts and email address and things like that. But they still want something of a walled garden. They still want some protections from the greatest toxicity that's out there, which frankly is directed more to girls than anything online and in games too, to the shame of our industry. So Feral is really the idea that for girls in particular, but all kids 13 to 18, this is a space that's transitional between the completely walled garden of Animal Jam and the utter Babylon of a YouTube comments thread, right? Mm-hmm. Where you've got some of that protection from toxicity, but you've got a little more freedom to show who you are and what you're all about, and be creative with one another online. And hopefully, that's kind of steering you in a direction towards more empathy, more compassion and restraint when you are let loose in the unrestrained adult social media networks.
This is smart because you have 120 million users right now in Animal Jam, and so this is a perfect place like graduate into high school.
Yeah. So we've got 8 to 12. We've got more 8 to 12 girls than the Disney Channel, than Nickelodeon, than anybody.
Wow, that's huge, man.
So now
bigger than Disney.
Bigger than Disney, and then this demographic,
Wow.
In terms of how much time they spend interacting with Animal Jam versus how much time they'd spend watching the Disney Channel. So now the idea is, okay, let's take it a little bit older with Feral, and we've got some more stuff coming later next year. Take it a little bit younger with another new IP, and just broaden that demographic sweep that we're appealing to, because we have the trust of parents now that I think we've worked very hard to earn, and kids know that whatever we come out with next is going to be a community that they're going to feel safe and excited to be a part of.
Is there a 3.0? So you going from feral to an 18, like an adult normal game, but offer some things that other people don't offer?
Well, there's really not anybody else out there doing safe social games for kids the way that we do right now, where because it's a high touch business. It can't all be automated. It can't all be done with machine learning. You've got to have bodies in seats that are helping keep this safe 24/7. It just doesn't work any other way, which means that if you don't have our scale, it's hard to do it profitably, right? And it's taken us, a long time to build the infrastructure that for doing that moderation, for doing that community engagement and protection. That I think we have something of a moat around that. So yeah, we want to develop more experiences like this for kids in other directions. It doesn't all have to be animals. Feral is all mythological animals, so it's taking it a little more fantasy based. So yeah, I think that we'll keep developing in that direction. But one thing with developing games for kids is you're also developing relationships with moms and with parents.
That's important.
And because we have that connection with them, we have some titles on our roadmap that are more geared towards young adults and say 18 to 30 kind of demographic.
So when does Feral come out?
Feral will be in a closed beta in December, and it will be opened up to the public
mobile platform
early next year. Mobile and desktop. It'll be 360.
And so the desktop people can play with the mobile people. And
Yep.
It's all one giant ecosystem. Is it on console or?
Not yet. Ultimately, I think we'd like to get there. Here's the problem with console and kids games, and you'll see this with games like Roblox or Minecraft, is the expectation for interaction with kids there is voice chat. And that, you look at it with the games I mentioned, it can really be a cesspool. It's impossible to provide the kind of protections that we do for kids in there. And I don't want us associated with it. I think
keep it clean and awesome.
If you're going to do that, don't pretend you're a kid's game. Say this is an experience for 13 plus, and don't come at parents saying, hey, this is a great outlet for your kids, but then make it kind of obscure how to find a safe corner of it to put them in.
This is pretty unique what you've built here, though, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of other companies doing what you have with the moderation level and keeping that safe sandbox and that. It's pretty unique, man. I didn't know it was that.
It's intense,
and taking a decade plus or whatever to build that ecosystem, that relationship trust with your community.
It's not an overnight thing, but it also means that we've created a platform that we can help other kids developers leverage. Because I'd like to see a better ecosystem of kids games out there, especially in the App Store. Kids, once they're 7 or 8 years old, they don't go to the kids category of the App Store because everything in there is either preschool or crap.
Yeah.
Right? They go to the game section of the App Store because that has the stuff they want to play. I'd like to see more stuff in the kids category. I'd like to see developers have the confidence to go with quality stuff in the kids category because they know they're going to be able to compete with the games category. And the only way they can do that is with a technology stack like ours. It's a platform that we've built for Animal Jam that we call JamNet, but that soon we want to be able to offer other developers come in, use this platform, and you can provide the same safe social experience in your games for kids, kind of using our foundation.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
so instead of downloading maybe Unity or something, whatever it may be, they may be downloading something from you guys.
It would be both. It would be
together both.
Yeah, it would be Unity and it'd be this. If you look at the top 50 grossing apps in the App Store, and anybody who's thinking about getting into the app or game business, look at what's top grossing right now. And in the games area, they all have one thing in common. That's that they all have social features built into them, right? They've got connect to your Facebook account or connect to your Twitter account, or connect to Game Center or something that allows you to if not play head to head with other players, at least invite your friends to your game or ask your friends for coins or things like that. Kids games can't do that without and stay both in compliance with the law and in compliance with essential ethics without having some of the infrastructure that we've built, and that's what we hope to provide.
Pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I want to summarize some of your wisdom here. I don't mind.
Was there wisdom in there?
Tons of it. So one of the big things when you're getting started, first thing that you want to do is download Unity 3D, MIT Scratch. Those are good 2 fundamental platforms to learn on. And then when you're building your team, your core team, it's really important. That's one of the most important things, is to build that core team correctly.
Sure.
And have the right people, whether it's the artists, the engineers, whatever position.
Yeah. You look at what you've accomplished here, which is fantastic in a lot of different businesses. And you're the catalyst, you're the linchpin in all of those. But you couldn't have done it all without any of the people that work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you've got key employees that they've been instrumental in executing your vision. And I think finding that tribe is the most important part of starting a company.
There's a little metaphor that I use. It's like X-Men, right? So think about myself as like Dr. X or whatever he's called, the guy, right? And we find mutants that are really freaking great at certain things, but they have really lacking characteristics in other areas where the team can help compensate for that.
Yeah.
And so we put the aces in the right places, right? And we keep them so that there's a harmonious organization.
Yep.
And they're all getting together, and they all know clearly what the outcome is of the team, right? So we're going on this mission. It's like a video game.
Yeah.
Here's the mission. You. We go in. We're a little raiding party.
Yep.
Right. Then the loot comes out. Everyone splits it, and then we go to the next one.
Yeah. No, and it's putting together that team and recognizing which pieces are missing that is key. And as you get into it, and I'm sure you realize this, is you've got to recognize too when you've accidentally recruited an evil mutant, right?
Oh yeah.
When you've got somebody who's like, this is the best engineer, this is the best artist ever, God, they're so fantastic, and I don't want to get rid of them, even though they're totally toxic to the rest of the employees or they're always dragging the company through the mud or whatever it is. If you can't hesitate when you've got somebody, no matter how productive they are, no matter how fantastically talented they are, if they're toxic, you've got to get rid of them quickly, because everybody else doesn't feel like they're part of an elite team if something like that is festering in there. I'm sure you've seen it too.
I've had to deal with a few evil mutants in my day. And it's usually me the problem, like having a personal attachment, and
sure,
like, oh man, but look at this mutant.
Yeah.
Look what they're doing for us. And sometimes the other team members buy into, yeah, you're right. So this mutant, even though he's like assassinating everybody in their sleep, no, they're not totally dying. They're just bleeding a little.
Yeah.
And then the justification goes, and then ultimately,
once you lose everybody else's buy-in, then or they see that you're willing to sacrifice the company culture or their quality of life at work for one hyper-productive employee.
I gotta double underline that one.
Yeah, then you're going to lose their buy-in, and you're not going to have a team anymore.
So Clark's wisdom: remove the evil mutants.
Hopefully you don't find them, and there's I don't.
You're gonna get them though.
I don't
sometimes
think
they shapeshift, right? They're like, oh,
you do this long
angel,
enough.
devil.
Yeah. You do this long enough, and you'll see that, and it's not just. You could be the best recruiter there is. You could be a great judge of character, and sometimes there's just somebody who does not mesh with the vision that you have for the company for whatever reason. They're not happy. You're not happy. The team's not happy. Let them go on to their next thing.
Yeah, kindly depart. Right? Is there any last words of advice that you'd like to share with listeners out there?
Wow, of budding entrepreneurs, hopefully budding game makers. Well, I think as you've demonstrated, this is a great place to start a company. The Salt Lake Valley, the Wasatch Front, the quality of life here, coupled with some great universities turning out some fantastic talent, a work ethic that seems built into the culture here that is almost Puritan in its devotion to succeeding. It's a unique place to build a business, and I think a good one.
Good. So where can people find you? Maybe you have a few different places because I know you have a couple things.
WildWorks.com, of course, is our company website. They can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Clark Stacey, Stacey. And always happy to help people who are trying to get into this business or solve problems in this industry. I love your 10% thing at the outset. It is just vital. It's not just vital because it's the right thing to do. It's vital because you got to have that healthy ecosystem around your company to keep your company healthy. Right?
That's true. Yeah. So friends, this has been awesome, man.
It's been a lot of fun, man.
This is killer.
Yeah.
We could go on forever, but there's so much knowledge here. But people can check out your stuff at WildWorks, right? See what you're up to.
Check out what we're doing at
Twitter.
at wildworks.com. And
Clark Stacey, Twitter.
Yeah, we'll try to keep bringing your kids safe, healthy, fun experiences.
Excellent. All right, man. I thank you. And friends, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, though, this podcast is not sponsored. There's no commercials. You don't have to pay anything for it, but you do need to execute. And if you could, share it with your friends and loved ones who would benefit from it. And again, if you get knowledge from this and it helps you generate more personal revenue, take 10% of your net gain and donate it to a good cause. We love Operation Underground Railroad and Nuzzles & Co. But pick one that means something to you if it's not one of those, though. I thank you for watching us, and we'll be here next week at Dan's Millionaire Code.